Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to my lecture. My name's Anna, and I'm going to be talking about body language today. My lecture this morning concerns its importance and some tips revealing body language hand gestures. So why did I choose this topic? Well, as a teacher and a communicator at core, I thought it would be super interesting to find out more and then share with you guys. And what I've found is that recent research has shown that body language is a very powerful tool. We had body language before we had speech, and apparently 80% of what you understand in a conversation is read through the body, not the words, says Deborah Bull. Well, firstly, we're going to look at the 5 primary functions of non-verbal communication. Secondly, we'll move on to the issue of its importance. Then we'll move on to examine things body language says about you. Finally, we'll focus on tips, body language for experts, and reveal some body language hand gestures. And to conclude, we'll reflect together on what we should be aware of. I'd like to take a minute or two to define what exactly we mean by body language. What is body language? Well, body language is a language without spoken words. It is called non-verbal communication. We use it all the time in our social life and business life. So it is all about gestures, movements, and expressions made by people to deliver a specific message to other people. However, sometimes we're unable to deliver our message by spoken or even written languages, so we use the body language to supplement what we want to say by gesturing, moving, or even giving some facial expressions. Let's have a look at the 5 primary functions of non-verbal communication. So the first one is quite obvious, right? To express emotions. We can see through facial expressions if a person is feeling happy, sad, frustrated, angry, whatever type of emotion that is coming through, right? We also can, number 2, express interpersonal attitudes. It is also a primary function to accompany speech in managing the cues of interaction between speakers and listeners. Another primary function is self-presentation of one's personality. So through body language, one can have a sneak peek to one's personality. Would you agree? And also, let's not forget number 5, rituals. For example, greetings. Think of different cultures, different forms of greetings. Does this make sense? Turning now to my second point, let's reflect on the importance of body language. Is it important? Okay, let's take a minute to think about this and reflect. Why do you think body language is important? You may take a minute and take some notes if you like. So, what do you think? Any ideas you'd like to share? Let's check this next slide out and see if we're on the same page. There are many beneficials. These are only some for us to think about. So why is it important? Why is body language important? Well, among other reasons, for having a positive body language can support your words. Your body language impacts your success. For example, at conferences, listing appointments, meetings, trade shows, any type of interview, any situation in business, in the corporate world. But not only, it can also help you attract the people you want to do business with. It can also be important for the success of any encounter, because any encounter begins the moment someone lays eyes on you. One of the first things they notice is your aura, your energy, and that's speaking through your body language. You create it, don't forget that. You create it, and you are responsible for what it says about you and whom it attracts. Body language conveys also more than half of any message in face-to-face encounter. You may be turning people away without even being aware of it. So these are just some of the reasons why body language is important. There are so many others. Great. Let's move on to examine things body language says about you. For this, we're going to watch a clip, so please follow the link below and enjoy. Right, so what did you think? Interesting stuff, right? Well, how about you? It's time to reflect about ourselves, okay? So let's just take a minute here and think about the following question. How do you use body language in your daily life? How do you use body language in your daily life? And how does body language help you to communicate? How does body language help you to communicate? So take a minute to think about these two questions. And it's okay if you'd like to take some notes for yourself, and you may pause this lecture at any time and just have a moment to reflect. Okay, now we're going to check out what the experts say. For this, we're going to watch a short clip, so please follow the link below and enjoy. Okay, so now I'd like to turn to my next point, which is reveal body language, hand gestures. So, it has been said that when we communicate, your brain automatically involves your hands to convey thoughts and emotions without you even knowing it. In that way, your hand body language signals what you don't say with your words. Signals what you don't say with your words. So your hand body language is speaking, and you need to try to convey the same meaning, hey? Now, being able to properly read body language is the key to any success. Okay, let's have a look at this picture. When you look at this picture, what do you think of? What do you notice? Palms up. What's your reaction? Is this a positive body gesture? Is it a negative? Is it neutral? What do you think? Okay, so palms up. Open palms usually have a positive effect on people. Its effect, it's effective, pardon me, in making amends or closing a sale. Combined with outstretching arms, it communicates acceptance, openness, and trustworthiness. So, this is the example of the picture before. When done with a jerk of the shoulders, it can mean resignation or admitting weakness, as if to say, I have no idea. You've probably seen this before. Okay, next picture. What do you think of this hand gesture? Is it positive? Does it have a positive effect on you? Negative? Neutral? What do you think? When you look at it, what's your first thought? Palms down. This means confidence and shows that you know what you're talking about, but it also conveys rigidity. Downward palms with straightened fingers indicate a sense of authority, even dominance or defiance. When a person does this while talking to you, it means he is not going to budge and you might have to change your approach. When combined with a chopping action, a downward palm indicates empathy, disagreement. I want to turn now to hands behind the back. What do you think? What's your reaction to this? When you see this, what do you think of? Okay, so hands behind the back. This usually shows some amount of confidence as the front torso and vital parts are exposed. You'll often see this in men, and while it's always better to show your hands, this is perhaps the exception to the rule as far as hand confidence display go. For many people, this hand position makes them feel totally uncomfortable when they are being looked at. They kind of feel as if naked. Turning now to the next hand gesture. What is this? How do you feel about this picture? It's called finger pointing. Pointing a finger at a person while speaking is an authoritative gesture. People do this when imposing themselves. Parents do it to their children, sometimes teachers to unruly students. It's a way of talking down, usually interpreted as aggressive and angry. When done to appear, it's a show of arrogance. It's it's confrontational. It's invasive and offensive. It's a kind of fierce variation of jabbing a finger. In any case, it's often considered impolite to point at a person. It would be more refined to point with a whole hand. Having looked at finger pointing, let's now think about this next picture. Do you know the name for this gesture? Does anyone know the name of it? Any idea? Yeah, that's right. Chopping. Chopping movements. Chopping is for emphasis and is usually authoritative. The person who chops has made up his mind and is not likely to change it. It can often be used as a way to make a point. For example, chopping down as to separate an idea into two categories. If you use this gesture, just don't be too aggressive when you do it. Okay, so connected to these that we just looked at, it makes total sense to watch this great TED Talk on hand gestures and how you use the palms of your hand. For this, please follow the link below and enjoy. Okay, this is our next hand gesture for us to analyze. What do you think when you look at this? What do you think? Do you know the name for it? When do people use it? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? Is it different from culture to culture? Clenched fists. That's the proper name for it. So these usually connote firmness of resolve, meaning think of someone preparing himself for a football game or a fist fight. It can signify unyieldiness, like a more intense version of palms facing down. Clenched fists with thumbs tucked in indicate discomfort. Makes sense, doesn't it? This person is anxious and trying to harden himself. Let's have a look at the next picture. Hand on the heart. What do you think? What's your reaction to it? So when you see hands or hand on the heart, what do you think? What's the meaning to it? Because everything has a meaning. Well, in general, this conveys a person's desire to be believed or accepted. Though intended to communicate sincerity, it doesn't necessarily mean honesty. So pay attention to that. It just means I want you to believe in me, whether or not what I say is true. It means what I say comes from the heart. Have you ever done this one? Do you identify with this? When do you use this? Or when do people in general use this? Should they be using this? What's the name for it? Well, this is actually called clasping hands, squeezing hands. So clasping hands and squeezing hands together is a self-pacifying gesture. Do you understand self-pacifying? So a person who does this is uncomfortable, may even be nervous or fearful. He's trying to assure himself everything's going to be all right. A variation of this is rubbing the wrist. So clasped hands with interwound fingers indicate great anxiety and frustration. That person is thinking things are going really bad. You better prepare yourself for a tough spot. Now, this one is quite the opposite from the previous one. don't you think? When you see someone do this, what do you think of? Have you seen this on TV? Have you seen politicians do this? TV presenters do this? Do you do this? So steepling is what you call palms that face each other or just the fingertips touching. This is a display of confidence and self-assurance. You should see this in a lawyer or a chess player who just found a way to wipe out his opponent. You also see it in politicians, yeah, um, TV presenters, so many, famous figures that use this. You don't want to overdo it, however, as this is a real show of power. Coming to our final hand position, this one is in regard to our waist. When you see this, what do you think of? Is this person shy, introverted? What do you think of when you see this position? Hands on hips, also known as akimbo. This is sometimes mistaken for unfriendliness, but it's often really just a position of readiness. The person's ready to go. Think of Cristiano Ronaldo before he tries to score a goal, and other athletes who put themselves in that mindset, that position that many times is observed in workaholics, athletes, as I was saying, and just in general in productive people. Certainly, sometimes this display can be a show of authority and superiority. For example, this is a gesture used by the military and law officials to show assertiveness and to take control of a situation. So, to finalise and to come to an end, I'd like for us to think about together and draw your attention to this point, to the things we should be aware of. What should we be aware of? What should we be aware of? I'd say don't judge a person solely by their body language. Don't isolate yourself by consistently examining body language when interacting with people. Don't spend too much time looking at the other person's body language. Try to look at their face while you're talking to them. And also, don't forget that body language is different in different cultures. We should know that body language has different meanings in different cultures. So if we need to travel abroad to a country that has different cultural and traditions, we should read about how people act there and study about their body language, especially when we need to conduct a meeting there or if we are one of the participants in that meeting or other business situations such as job interviews, because if we do not take this into account, we may get ourselves into some serious trouble. Okay, so to conclude my lecture, I'd like to say that body language is the language we should all be learning. Okay, and coming to the end of my presentation, my lecture, and so I'd just like to thank you for listening. I hope you found it interesting, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you, and I'll be so happy to answer them. Catch you next time. Thanks.